Welcome to Drive the Daf, clear, structured explanation of the daily Daf in 20 minutes. You can even follow in the car.
Pesachim Daf Kuf Aleph discusses the halachos of brachos and kiddush, focusing on the issue of changing the place that you're in. Shinui makom. If you make kiddush in one place and you go somewhere else without eating, are you yotze kiddush? If you make a bracha in one place and you go somewhere else, do you have to make a new bracha? The Gemara has machlokes on both subjects and has a number of Amoraim that pile up on either side of the issue. So the Gemara begins by saying one case which includes both shilas, that somebody makes kiddush in shul, doesn't eat anything, and then he goes home. So the two questions are, is he yotze kiddush because he didn't eat in the place he made kiddush? Is he yotze bar pri hagafen because now he drank in the place where he said the hagafen, that he did, but now he came home, he changed from one place to another, does he have to make another hagafen? So Gemara brings three opinions. Rav, Shmuel, and Rav Yochanan. Rav says he is yotze the hagafen, but he's not yotze kiddush. That means Rav is holding that he has to make a new hagafen. He does not have to make a new kiddush at home. The Gemara asks, if he doesn't have to make a new kiddush at home, why does he make kiddush at home? The Gemara says, well, he'll do that in order to be mitzi his family. Shmuel holds he's not yotze anything, not wine and not kiddush. If he goes home, he has to make a new hagafen, and he has to make a new kiddush. He wasn't yotze kiddush at all. The Gemara says, well, if he wasn't yotze kiddush, what was the point in saying it in shul? Whereas that's to be mitzi the people that are staying in shul overnight, Friday night, the guests in the city that are eating and sleeping there, and they don't have anybody to make a kiddush for them. Now, Rav Yochanan says that you're yotze both, the hagafen and the kiddush. You don't have to make a new bracha at all. Now, first, the Gemara focuses on the machlekes Rav and Shmuel over kiddush. What we've seen is that Rav says that he is yotze kiddush. He doesn't have to make a new kiddush when he goes home. And Shmuel says, no, you're not yotze kiddush unless you eat in that exact spot. So as we see from here, Shmuel's shita, kiddush requires malkam suda. You have to eat something in the place of your kiddush, otherwise you're not yotze. So Gemara says that we thought to say that Shmuel only says that if it's that you only lose the kiddush if you leave the house. But if you leave the room, go to another place within the house, you don't lose the kiddush if you didn't eat. The Gemara says it's not so, because we have a testimony of Rav Anan bar Tachlifa, who said that he saw that Shmuel went down from the roof to the house before he made kiddush. He didn't want to make kiddush on the roof of the house, and then in the house because he wanted to make kiddush b'malkam suda. Now the Gemara brings another of Amoraim who also hold that you have to do kiddush only in the place of the suda. Rav Huna holds it that way because he was once home and he made kiddush, and then the candle fell and got put out, so he had to go to somewhere else. So he went to the wedding hall where his son Rabba was getting married. Over there was light, and before he ate there, he made kiddush again because he held that his new kiddush doesn't work because he didn't eat anything there. Now Rabba himself also holds that kiddush doesn't work except in the place of suda, because Abaye said, I was once in Rabba's house, and he made kiddush, and we all wanted to go home and eat the suda in our houses, and he said to us, you have to eat something here first, because if you go home, maybe you're not going to end up making a kiddush there, because maybe your candles went out. So you better eat kiddush, you should eat something here so that you're yotze kiddush here, otherwise if you go home without eating, you're not yotze with this kiddush. So you see, he holds, also the kiddush is required in the malkaim suda. So the Gemara asks, is it really true that Rabbah holds you have to have kiddush b'makom is suda? If that's true, then he's taking sides with Shmuel against Rav. But we know that Rabbah always paskins like Rav, except for three exceptions. Abaye says this over. He says that Rabbah was held like Rav, except for three exceptions. The three exceptions are if you're allowed to untie something from one cloth to another cloth, if you had a light from one candle to another candle, Neros Shabbos. And the third issue is, who is the halacha like as far as dragging a bench through the earth on Shabbos, meaning making a ditch, potentially making a ditch. By dragging a bench, you're allowed to do that. That would be what's called a dover shein maskavin. You're doing a malacha of digging without intending to. You're just intending to move the bench in a situation where it's not for sure going to happen. It's a machlekes of Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. And the machlekes Rav and Shmuel, how we paskin, and Rabbah goes like Shmuel in that case there. Now, all these three cases, Shmuel goes leniently. So the Gemara says that Rabbah always holds like Rav, besides for these three. So how could you say here that Rabbah holds like Shmuel? So Gemara says, no, Rabbah always holds like Rav leniently. That Rabbah always holds like Rav, that said Rav is always machmir like Rav. These three exceptions are exceptions to the situation in which Rabbah is not machmir like Rav, even though Rav is the chumrah and Shmuel is the kula. In these three exceptions, Rabbah is mekel like Shmuel. However, in the situations where Rav is mekel, there is no rule that he paskins like Rav. Sometimes he paskins like Rav, sometimes he paskins like Shmuel. In this situation, he's not mekel like Rav, he's machmir like Shmuel. Okay, now the Gemara goes into the discussion of Rav Yechanan. So we saw that Rav Yechanan says you're even yaitz wine. You don't have to make a new bar priya guffin when you get home from shul. There's no problem of shinui makom, we call it. There's no, you do not lose the bracha and have to make a new bracha when you change from one place to another place. The logic would be your bracha usually ends when you mentally have disengaged from the eating session that you were involved in. So Rav and Shmuel we saw hold you have to make a new agafen. They hold when you left shul, you left your place. Shinui makom ends your eating session. You have to make a new bracha when you start eating or drinking again. Rav Yechanan disagrees. He says no, you don't have to. So the Gemara quotes Rav Yechanan, who spells out this halacha more clearly in a different case, and he says that changing the type of wine you have does not require a new hagafen. Even if you bring better wine, you don't have to make a new hagafen. The Rishonim point out you do have to say hatayv ametiv. And changing your place, you don't have to make a new hagafen. So Gemara asks a kasha, how could Rav Yechanan say that? We have a brisa pretty clearly that says that if you change your place, you have to make a new bracha. You change your wine, you don't have to make a new bracha. If you change your place, you do have to make a new bracha. So Gemara says tiyuf to Rav Yechanan. That effectively shows that Rav Yechanan is not in accordance with this brisa. The brisa is clearly supporting Rav and Shmuel. And now the Gemara has a few halachas said over by Rav Chizda. The Gemara says Rav Yechanan was sitting in front of Rav Chizda, and Rav Chizda was saying, and he quoted the name of Rav Huna, who said that you do have to make a new bracha when you change from place to place, but it's only from one house to another house. Within rooms, within one house, from room to room, you don't have to. So the Gemara says that Idi Bar Oven said yes, it's actually a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah that's quoted by Bei Rav Hink, who said it, who specifically said that halacha in a Mishnah. Some say that what he said to him that what Rav Idi Bar Oven says was yes, we learned in a Mishnah the same halacha. It's a slight variation in the language that he used. So Gemara asks, what do you mean, Rav Huna? Rav Chizda was quoting Rav Huna. Rav Huna said over halacha that was straight out in the Mishnah. What would be the point in that? Gemara says Rav Huna was not aware of the Mishnah. Okay, now Rav Chizda said another halacha. This he didn't quote Rav Huna. He said it in his own name. He originated it. That we said that if somebody changes from one place to another, he has to take a new bracha. That's only if he was eating the type of food that does not require a bracha achrona, the after bracha, in the place that you ate. Meaning he's eating something which only requires a bar nefashos. Bar nefashos, you could say wherever you are. You don't have to be in the place where you ate, and therefore, when he got up and he left the place that he's in, he ended his meal. He didn't. He does not have to come back and say the bracha achrona. Therefore, he ended his meal wherever he is. He ended it, and there's no continuation. If he wants to start eating again somewhere else, he has to make a new bracha. However, if he's eating food which requires an ala michya, ala eitz, or ala gefen, or berachas hamazon, so there he has to say it in the place where he ate. If he's going someplace else, obviously, if he's planning on continuing to eat, if he's going to continue to eat, he's planning on he's planning on saying the bracha achrona over there, because the bracha achrona has to be in the place in which he ate. As a matter of fact, he didn't really finish, because he still has to come back and say the bracha achrona if he doesn't go somewhere else and eat. So that eating session is continuing, and therefore if he goes somewhere else and eats, he doesn't have to make another bracha rishona either, because he's still in the middle of the eating session and it has not ended. The Gemara notes that Rav Sheshes disagrees. Rav Sheshes says no matter what you're eating, no matter what type of bracha achrona your food requires, you still have to make a new bracha if you go somewhere else. Now the Gemara says we have a proof to Rav Sheshes. Proof from a brisa that says you have a bunch of people sitting together and eating, and a chas nakala go by, and they tear themselves away from the meal. It says akru raglein, they tear themselves away. The Gemara says that language, tearing themselves away, that sounds like they were eating a real suda. They were eating something which requires a bracha in that place. Because if otherwise they just got up, what's the big deal? But they tore themselves away, it means they have to come back. They tore themselves away and they went to greet the chasen or the kala. So the halacha is that whether or not they have to say a bracha depends. If there was nobody left behind, everybody there got up and packed out. So the implication here is that before they leave, they have to say a bracha achrona. When they come back, they have to say a new bracha rishona. That implication is because of the halacha that the brisa spells out, which is that if they left over a couple of people, like for example, somebody was too old or too sick to go, so they left some people behind, those people anchor them, then they don't have to say a new bracha achrona. They don't have to say a bracha achrona when they leave or a bracha rishona when they come back. So you see that if they don't leave anybody behind, even though they were eating something which requires a bracha on the place, because again it says akru, then they do have to say another bracha when they come back. So Shina Makam ends the eating and requires a new bracha. Clear proof to Rav Sheshes. The Gemara answers, no, that's not a problem. It's actually a machlokas Tanaim, and this brisa is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara quotes another brisa that spells out the machlokas Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. That Rabbi Yehuda, the Chachamim discuss a very similar case where people got up from a Suda where they were eating things that required a bracha achrona in its place. Again, it uses the expression akru. This time they went to his shul, or they went to the Beis Medrash, and they came back. So if they left people behind, so everybody agrees they don't have to say a new bracha, that's not a problem, because the people that are left waiting for them, that are anchoring them. However, if they didn't leave people behind, it's machlokas Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says they have to say a new bracha, and the Chachamim say that they do not. So this brisa we saw earlier is Rabbi Yehuda, and not a kasha, because we will go, Rav Chisda will go like the...
Drive the Daf is a project of the Grand Woodlands Shul and is presented by Rabbi Yitzchak Landa. Find us on YouTube or subscribe to daily emails by emailing drivethedaf@gmail.com.